And good morning to the SABC viewers.
Now, what's your reaction to the Constitutional Court's judgment? I mean, essentially dismissing Jacob Zuma's application for a rescission.
Well, firstly, it had to be expected. I mean, we didn't expect real justice coming out of this. Already to have delayed this thing for almost 3 months was already on its own a miscarriage of justice. So just from that alone. And it's very clear that the Constitutional Court considers its own dignity more important than the rights of the people enshrined in the Constitution. So what we saw today was a judgment between two things: the rights of people enshrined in the Constitution versus what one could consider the dignity of the court. So in protecting the dignity of the court took it upon itself to continue to waive the rights of His Excellency President Zuma. In fact, this court has gone further to say that despite the fact that Section 39(1) of the Constitution, in terms of that section where the section says must consider international law, and then the judgment here says they are not obliged by it. How can you be a signatory to an international covenant and then you're not obliged to it? What's the point? I mean, in fact, what this will do, it will also undermine investor confidence in South Africa, because this is a flouting of rule of law. If you have international covenants, that gives international community comfort that this country will play by the rules that are known internationally. But if you're going to have a South Africa that signs things that is not going to be obliged to, that will actually destroy the investor confidence in this country. So indeed, I think this decision by the Constitutional Court is bad for South Africa, is bad for justice, is bad for the supremacy of the Constitution. It's really bad in all angles. All that this Constitutional Court is interested in is its own dignity, not the supremacy of the Constitution or the rights of the individuals enshrined in it.
Mr. Manyi, you seem to be taking exception to the fact that the Constitutional Court was protecting its own dignity over that of the individual. But do you reckon that Mr. Zuma was misguided when he, violated, or rather when he challenged the principle of finality of litigation? As you know, that it is in the public interest that each and every matter be brought to finality once the court has declared it.
The reason we have a constitution is to give certainty to what must obtain when there are disputes. The reason we have courts is for courts to chart a way forward when there are disputes. And all of that, all those procedures of how disputes are handled, is a clearly regulated matter. This matter should have been sent to the High Court. That's what the regulations say. For the Constitutional Court to insist on usurping the powers of the High Court, and by so doing, denying His Excellency President Zuma a right for appeal, denying him a right to mitigate sentence, is totally unconstitutional, we maintain. We also do not accept the fact that this Constitutional Court is saying they've given him an opportunity to mitigate in terms of its rules and so on. We are arguing as a foundation that the issue of mitigation of sentence happens after a sentence has been given. How can you go and mitigate something that you are not been lambasted with? So even that statement on its own, we argue as a foundation that that statement is in itself unconstitutional. We're really disappointed.
Does the foundation accept this ruling, though?
No, we don't accept this ruling. We note this ruling. We continue to maintain that this ruling was just bullying. It actually just amounts to bullying, this ruling. In fact, if one looks at even the Constitution itself, the Constitution requires, if you go to the Constitution, Section 167, paragraph 2 of the Constitution, there's a reason why you need 8 judges to constitute a panel. This is what the Constitution says. And the reason for that is because 8 is a particular number that the crafters of the Constitution considered the right number for whatever reasons they have. The fact that the 7 people that have done this thing have agreed in a particular position is a problem, because the Constitution, in fact, does not envisage split decisions for the Concourt. The Constitution does not envisage majority judgment. It envisages unanimity of decision. So we would argue that, in fact, the fact that the decision is not unanimous in itself is unconstitutional.
Well, this Constitutional Court decision does not leave Mr. Zuma with so many options. And I know that since it is the apex court and being the final arbiter, and the only right thing to do at this particular moment, I suppose, is for the foundation to ask President Zuma's supporters to remain calm. And how do you envisage that his supporters will receive this news?
I don't want to comment on that.
Okay, so what's your position then in terms of, telling the people of, the ANC supporters and Mr. Zuma to respond to this particular judgment?
The foundation does not control supporters. So the foundation will not pronounce on which way people must express their emotions. It is not for the foundation to do that. Our duty as a foundation is to speak for the foundation and His Excellency President Zuma. As to how his supporters behave or don't behave, that's not the call for the foundation. The foundation is not going to get involved in that.
All right, Mr. Mzwanele Manyi, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
That's the spokesperson for the JG Zuma Foundation, Mr. Mzwanele Manyi, just reacting to the Constitutional Court's judgment, essentially setting aside the application for the rescission of his incarceration. Let's now